World War Z zombies that are just basically like locusts. But I got to give it to probably, okay, so I think the 28 Days Later zombies you could shoot in the heart and kill because they're just rage-infested people. And they shoot blood out their mouths, which is terrifying. But I think the Dawn of the Dead remake, you can only kill them, you can only shoot them in the head, and they are just fast, and they are just mean, and they can climb and knock through doors. So for me, I'd got to go Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yeah, zombies. I think that's a good one. So the way that I think about zombies is like a two-class system. There are fast zombies, slow zombies, zombies from science, zombies from mysticism, magic. Mm-hmm. And so I think that zombies that are fast and from the mysticism realm are the scariest, which I believe are the same thing as what you just described.
Like, not like the original ones from White Zombie. I've showed my students clips, and they're just very, like, slow, kind of, like voodoo-esque brought up. So so I don't know. I think the scariest aspect out of all of them is the puke.
You mean spitting blood?
Yeah, spitting blood
that's terrifying.
from 28 Days Later. I mean, that is... If I had... I would rather live in the Dawn of the... Well, man, this is really tough. Man, what would you rather live in? This is the Dawn of the Dead remake world or 28 Days Later world?
I think I would rather live in the virus world, 28 Days Later.
Because those things die off if they don't eat.
Exactly. Eventually they will die. Yeah. But the zombies don't. They're just constantly there always.
And they seem a little smarter in 28 Days Later.
They do, yeah.
And just very super aggressive. Oh, man. Yeah, you know what? I'd have to do 28 Days Later because, it's a nightmare, but you would just have to... What do you think about 28 Weeks Later? Would you like that movie?
Well, I haven't seen it in a very long time, but I have seen it. But if you ask me if I just immediately got the transfer to 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later, I would do that because guess what? I wouldn't have to deal with the beginning of the apocalypse.
Yeah, you're right. You'll just be there.
Yeah. I survived. Never mind my bum knee.
Oh, man. That running scene in 28 Weeks Later in the beginning where Carlisle is being flanked on all sides by zombies and then he jumps into the boat. That's one of the most just exhilarating and stressful moments I can think of. Also, 28 Weeks Later is really mean. A lot of people get killed off. So I don't know. I wrote about that for Cracked. Rose Byrne's character gets a really unceremonious whacking, and it makes me sad. But yeah, I jumped off topic.
Yeah, but no, it's okay. That was still zombie related. So I have another question for you, and this has to do with more of the movie. So from what I understand, the director, when he was writing the script, he went around and asked teens what they would do in the apocalypse. Oh, yeah. And that's how he ended up with scenes like them hanging out in the mall and just screwing around. So my question to you is, like, what would teens do today if the apocalypse came and everyone turned to dust? Like, there's no malls to go to. Like, what would they do now?
That's a really great question. Okay. Wow. What would teens...
I have an answer if you want to think about it for a second.
Off the top of my head, I think a lot of them would more just shelter. Like there's really no major places to go. So I think they would just stay inside. Like they're maybe more conscious nowadays.
I mean, my immediate thought is they would all get on Twitch or still get on social media because just because people disappeared doesn't mean the power doesn't work and would probably work for X amount of time.
Yeah.
And so they would be able to quickly realize that, we're the only ones left. So they would then try to figure out how to meet up.
Oh, okay. So you're not saying the initial outbreak. So after the outbreak.
No, this would be the initial outbreak. Like, I know that if I woke up the next day and there was no one left in the planet, I would still know that my cell phone would still work. Just because there's no people doesn't mean the technology doesn't work, at least for a little bit.
And, yeah, you're right. So you could go on Twitter.
Yeah, you just start going like, could you imagine Twitch. Apocalypse Twitter? Oh, my God.
Wow. I mean, that's a good idea. So I want to tell you one thing. My buddy he stuck something in my head, and I don't know where he heard it from, but he said one of the scariest things in the world is, let's say you've been living on your own for 6 months. You have a fortified penthouse. You can block out, you haven't seen anybody in months, but one night someone knocks on your door. Wouldn't that not be the scariest thing you could ever imagine?
Yeah, it's terrifying. I don't even know if you let them in or not. Would you let them in and like search them? I don't know.
I guess if power's still on, I'd have a camera set up. But I doubt power would still be on. Yeah. Man, I just got goosebumps thinking about that. I'd go find Regina.
I'm just trying to think of where people would go, teens would go now to congregate. Like, there's no one location. You would be like, I guess I'm going to go hang around at the corner.
Yeah. There's no more like malls where kids hung out. There's no more. Do kids go to the Y and play basketball anymore? Like
I'm
there's
sure
none
they
of,
do, but
yeah.
it's not the same. I kind of feel bad for kids who never got to experience the mall. And you know what? You and I, like, definitely, even though we were young, didn't experience the full-on mallification. We probably got the tail end of it.
Yeah, because that was the 80s, just the mall explosion. And even late
Yeah.
70s, I would say.
Like, we would go and hang out at the arcade at the mall and, like, eat some pizza and just, like, wander around for a while and go home.
Oh, man, I miss those mall arcades playing, like Final Fight and all those games.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They were great.
Soul Calibur. You got me reminiscing about being young now. I'm just sort of thinking about this world. All right, I have a question. So after watching Dawn of the Dead, every time I walk around a store, I would just think, how do I fortify this? Where would I climb immediately? How would I block the doors? Where's the food? Do you ever think that when you go inside a mall or inside big stores?
I do. I think about where's the exit all the time.
Yep.
Like, how do I get out of here? How would I hide? What can I use? I generally, this is going to sound funny because I live in New York City and it's a ton of people, but I generally don't do well with big crowds and crowded places. So I try to avoid just being around a bunch of people because it makes me anxious and I sometimes will have panic attacks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like I'm always just like, all right, how would I get out of here? And to be, I mean, I know that is insane to say that in New York City, but you know, it is what it is.
Are you like Dante from Clerks, where he hates crowds, but he loves gatherings?
I don't know. I haven't seen Clerks in a very long time, but maybe.
One random thing before I forget. What did you think about the two dream sequence in this movie? I just kind of like that she was drinking beer and driving, and then she used some Banaka before the zombie cops come up. I don't know what you thought about that scene.
I almost did a spit take.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense narratively, but it's such a good scene, like meta scene for the audience. Because it's like, you know right away that this is a fake scene. And then she wakes up and you're like, I knew that. And then she wakes up again and you're like, oh, shit, you got me.
Double dream.
Double dream.
And you know what I was thinking? I mean, it's probably one of the more gratuitous moments in the film, but the producers when they made Valley Girl, I don't know if you know this, or probably, I don't know if you listen to the podcast, but in Valley Girl, the producers made Martha Coolidge show 3 pairs of like breasts. So she was contracted to show 3 scenes of nudity. So she showed the least amount that she possibly could in those scenes to get the producers happy. So I wonder if this was kind of mandated by the producers to show a little
titillation.
Yeah, exactly. And so that when I saw it, then I learned about Valley Girl. I kind of thought, well, I wonder if this is just to get 12-year-old kids.
Yeah, that's 100% the reason. That makes no sense at all, like why that scene's in there. No. I mean, why didn't they do that with Hector? You know, have him shirtless in the bathroom and get attacked. We could also talk about the feet in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of feet shots.
Yeah, like when she comes out the elevator, right?
Yeah. Did you read about that scene?
I know he's received praise for it, but they had to use another person to shoot it, so it wasn't her. Right?
It wasn't her, and they weren't even in an elevator. That was just like 2 things they pushed together to make it look like an elevator, and then the PAs pulled it apart, and she walked through.
Wow.
Yeah, they were desperate.
But that makes me happy. Like, the dude was just sweating on set making this happen.
Yeah, but there are a lot of feet in this movie, like Quentin Tarantino level feet.
Do you think Quentin Tarantino's a fan of this film?
100%. I bet we could search right now Tarantino, Night of the Comet, and he comes up saying he loves it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now.
Yeah, I like it.
Night of the Comet, Quentin Tarantino, even though I misspelled his name horribly.
Well, we wouldn't have known that.
Right.
I'm excited here. What do you think?
Well, I can't tell. Like it looks like he's definitely mentioned it. I don't think he's mentioned it explicitly.
Oh, okay. Because this seems like a movie he would dig or show at his theater.
It does. It's definitely something he would dig, but I always feel like he gravitates around the 70s exploitation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's one movie that I haven't seen, but I really want to, called The Candy Snatchers. That's supposed to be one of his top, 5 films. And you never know with him because he changes it. He says a lot of things for his top 5.
Sorcerer is always in there.
Yeah, Sorcerer's always in there. I haven't seen it. I know I should, but this does feel like something he would show.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, you see a lot of this. Okay, I'm not saying this movie, there were very good teenager films in the 80s. So you had Fast Times, Valley Girl. Can you think of characters like this in any other film, like around this time?
That they're like this fun and they have such a well-developed relationship?
Or they're just badasses. and they know about Uzis and Mac-10s and kicking people, and they're not. So you think about Halloween, right, in '78, and then you have, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis was great. Then you think about Friday the 13th, where the characters don't even have that much agency.
So, when I was watching this, the immediate thought I had was Reggie is a young Ripley.
Yeah, there it is.
Like that's my immediate one. And whenever I think about any of these movies from the 80s and 90s, I always go back to Ripley and how she is essentially a superhero.
Yeah, especially in Aliens, when she just gets going, and at the end
she literally puts on the uniform, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's just so cool. And then Samantha is kind of like I mean, they're equally well, no, she gets caught though, right? Doesn't Regina catch somebody, but Samantha gets caught? Because Samantha's younger and more impulsive, I would say.
Yeah, Samantha gets caught, and then they both get caught.
What did you think about Hit Gomez at the end?
It was a whole scene. It was really good. It was like a good joke, inside joke. Did you think they killed Samantha?
I did. And
I did too.
I was like, and you know what's funny? Even after the movie ended, for some reason I had this feeling that she was dead. And then I thought about it. I'm like, no, she gets picked up by DMK at the very ending. But at the very end, or at the end. But yeah, I thought she got killed, but she just got knocked out so the lady could kill the other dude. Yeah. And then let
Which doesn't quite make sense, but whatever.
You know what I kind of like about her is that she knows she's dying. The scientist, like Audrey White, Mary Warnoff's character, she knows she's dead. And I think she just knows that this bloodletting that they're doing is not going to last long. So she doesn't want to kill more people just to live 10 minutes longer. Is that kind of her arc, would you say? Yeah.
I think it's her arc, and I think the film does a very good job of disguising her arc. Because for a moment you think that she's evil and doesn't want to bring the kids there to save them. And it turns out that no, she doesn't want to bring them there because she's trying to save them.
Yeah, she doesn't want them there. And she keeps one at least. But I like how, and also what I love, man, is that Regina just goes to that place and then just starts beating up people. Like she gets out on her own. And then I love when Hector opens up the trunk and then that guy just gets beat up by Samantha. Like she beats the guy up in the trunk. It just, I'm telling you, man, this movie, sometimes I get a little burnt out, like watching all these things. And it's great. I mean, there's worse things in this world than watching movies. Like, you're very fortunate to have that. But you can count the very happy surprises. I mean, what are some movies that, I don't know, maybe made you feel like I feel, just so you watch it and you're very happy with it, like a very surprise, like it's so, man, I dig it.
The most recent movie I watched and was just like my jaw hit the floor and how much I loved it was Velocipaster.
Okay.
And that came out in 2019, and it's a purposeful B movie about a priest who becomes a velociraptor, turns into a velociraptor, made on a shoestring budget. Just ridiculous homages to B movies, purposely over the top, and it was perfect. I loved every minute of it. I told everyone I knew about it. Highly recommend the film. But that was one of the few moments when I was watching, I was like, I absolutely love this. And then there's also a moment I had when I watched Dunkirk, and I wasn't very excited to go see it. I was like, I'll go see this, whatever. And I was watching it, and then I was on the edge of my seat the entire time in a way that I hadn't been in any film that I can remember.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, that movie, I almost forgot to breathe sometimes watching Dunkirk.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are comparing it to 1917, but I don't think there's any comparison. I think Dunkirk is a significantly superior film.
I think it's just such an easy, like, people think it's an easy comparison, but they're two totally different flicks. I mean, they're like, one of them's incredibly linear and the other one's not.
Yeah, you have to pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah. And so I want to see what you think about this. I have a note that I took down, and it's all in caps, but I just wrote, this movie's unapologetically scrappy.
Oh yeah.
I think if someone asked me what I think about this film, Night of the Comet, what do you think about Night of the Comet? If I said unapologetically scrappy, would that sound like an insult or a compliment?
I think it depends on who you're giving that to. Like, I take it as a compliment, because I think creativity is constrained by resources or lack of resources. Or maybe I'm not actually saying this right, but what I'm trying to say is, the more resources you have, typically the less creative you are. And so you came up with really interesting visuals, really interesting concepts because they had no money. And I think that's what makes this movie good.
Yeah, just, I don't know, man. I got to stop saying the same thing. I'm going over and over. How about this? So I can regroup. Do you want to do a quick, we always put together a team. Do you want to put together our characters from Night movies?
I do. I am so excited for this.
Yeah, I got some weird ones for you. I got some real weird ones for you. Do you want to go first?
No. You know what, Mark? I've gone first probably every time I've been on your podcast. I'm going to cede this to you. You may go first.
All right, sounds good to me. So I am going to go, let me pull up here. I got my note. Oh, also the director did Captain Ron.
I was waiting for you to bring that up. I know you love that movie. I also love that movie.
I mean, that movie also has a very specific tone.